Hey friends, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, it's time to start climbing because it's all uphill from here. Steep is a 9% bourbon barrel-aged stout from Mothfire Brewing Company in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Mothfire has been releasing a lot of really intriguing beers as of late, and this is no different. Now, I've mentioned before in previous reviews that I like to go a little bit off the beaten path sometimes with the brewery. Now, in my mind, Mothfire is most known currently for doing a lot of IPAs, maybe putting a hazy spin on some other styles. So when I saw that they were releasing not only a stout, but a barrel-aged one at that, it made me really kind of curious to check this one out, see what it's all about. So that's what we got today. We got Steep, a bourbon barrel-aged stout. So let's take a look at the label and get it into a glass. But first, I'd like to thank my executive producers, Eric Latowski, Brian Kramer, and David Jeffries for helping to bring this review to you today. If you'd like to become a producer, help out the channel, or maybe even just buy me a beer, take a look at my Patreon at patreon.com/draft_therapy, where you can get early access to these videos, exclusive patron-only live streams, and a few other special perks available only to patrons. Let's check it out. So, if we look at it, this follows the same kind of motif that all the Mothfire beers so far that I've seen have kind of followed. What it does is it does a gradient, or you might want to call it a ombre or something. I call it gradient. But on the top, we have the Mothfire logo, which is like a polygon kind of moth there. It says Mothfire in white, stark white against a purple, grading down to a dark purple, almost a black kind of color. It just says plainly Steep. Stout aged in Ann Arbor Distilling Company bourbon barrels. On the bottom, it says this is 16 fluid ounces. This is 9% alcohol by volume. If we turn it a little bit to the side, it says brewed and canned by Mothfire Brewing Company. You can check them out at mothfire.com. They are on 2290 South Industrial Highway in Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48104. And then it says supporting local farms with 100% Michigan grown base malts. And then the government warning, the independent craft beer logo. I had to pick this one up at the tap room. There's a lot of construction going on there right now, so it's a little bit difficult to get to, but I think they have a partnership. I believe it's with York Bar. I'm going to leave a link below if you're interested in checking out York, or if you want to just find out more about Mothfire. There is no canned on date here, unfortunately, but I can tell you I picked this up. Today is June, what is today? Today is June 5th. I picked this up a week ago. Friday, yesterday, basically. So a week ago, week before the June 4th. I don't even know what the date was. It was sometime in May. Sometime in May. So I'm going to grab this, whatever kind of glass this is, a bit of a tulip kind of glass. We're going to go ahead and crack this and put a nose on the can, as I do. Whoa, big pop, a little splasharoo just kind of splashed out on my counter here. Not getting much of a bourbon aroma. I am getting a nice kind of, a stouty kind of aroma, but there's no real bourbon character in the aroma itself, at least not out of the can here. It has a bit of a kind of a malty, chocolatey kind of smell to it. Let's go ahead and pour this. Very dark coming out of the can. As I look through the stream, it is a bit of a kind of a almost maroon kind of color, a dark, super dark red coming through, really kind of reminiscent of the purple on the top of this can. The head here, we got about a finger. It is rapidly dissipating. It's kind of popping, as you can see from the overhead. It's just kind of like doing a little dance on the top of the glass. I'm afraid that the head might disappear pretty quickly. And let's hold it up to the light. Super dark. There's no real bulb on this glass, but it is just, I mean, it's pretty much sheer blackness at this point. But it does... The can, the label actually is really very, it's actually pretty cool, because when I poured it, it was this kind of purplish, and it gets this dark color on the bottom. Let's put a nose on it. Yeah, it just smells like, it has some dark chocolatey kind of notes in there. There's a bit of a roasted malty aroma in there too. The head, as you can see, I'll show the overhead again real quick. The head has pretty much died out at this point, but there is a thin layer around the edge. Let's try it out. Cheers. I'm not getting the typical, let's talk about the mouthfeel, okay? It's a little bit on the lighter side. It's almost lighter than medium. It's kind of a crisper stout. It's not really super thick. It's not necessarily a medium mouthfeel. It almost tastes a little bit on the crispier side of a stout. It has a bit of a thin mouthfeel, but let's talk about the flavor. Generally with bourbon barrel aged stouts, you get a lot of bourbon characteristic out of those. What I'm getting out of this is not so much of a bourbon barrel characteristic. I'm getting super deep, really like bitingly bitter chocolate, like really deep, dark chocolate, like super high, you know, cocoa or cacao like content, like 99%, like just really bitter, dark chocolate. There's a lot of roasty malt characteristics coming through. There is a bit of a, almost like a dark molasses, but even the aftertaste, the overwhelming kind of aftertaste that I'm picking up is just super fudgy, dark, bitter chocolate. And that's, I like that kind of, that's a good thing. I like that in stouts. I like it when they have those really rich, deep chocolate flavors. There's almost a bit of a, on the first, like when you first drink and you first kind of taste it and you first swallow, of course, again, you're getting that dark chocolate on the end, on the aftertaste, you're getting that bitter, dark chocolate. You're also getting those roasty malts, but there's almost like this, almost like a black tea kind of flavor in there as well. Just when it first hits your tongue on the swallow, that's where you're getting a lot of chocolate. You're getting a lot of, again, those dark chocolate flavors, those roasty malts, just a really nice kind of stout. The thing that I'm not picking up on any kind of barrel characteristic. I'm not picking up on any kind of bourbon characteristic. When I looked at this on Untapped, there were two different versions. There was the BBA version, which this one says that it was aged in Ann Arbor Distilling Company bourbon barrels. It also said that there was just a regular steep. Now, I don't trust what Untapped says most of the time because it's kind of hit or miss. I know a lot of the breweries put that in there, but you know, it could be a different edition. They could have had an earlier version that was not barrel aged. That was lower ABV. I want to say it said it was 7% or something like that. This one on the can says 9%. It doesn't have a boozy characteristic. There's not a big boozy quality to it. Again, I would kind of correlate a big boozy kind of flavor to having that bourbon characteristic. I'm not getting that. Again, I'm not getting much kind of oaky barrel or any real kind of barrel characteristic at all. I'm not complaining, but when you put something on the label that says bourbon barrel aged or it says barrel aged stout, I would think that I'm going to get more of that kind of bourbon quality or that bourbon characteristic. I'm not getting that. But what I am getting here is a really good example of just a really deep, rich, chocolatey, fudgy kind of stout with, again, has that little bit of a black tea kind of flavor up in the up front. It goes into a bit of a roasted malts and, again, bitter chocolate, dark chocolate. I thought I almost smelled something on the nose when I picked it up, but I really like dark chocolate flavors in stouts. I think that's like a perfect, obviously, kind of stout flavor. That's what I like to see, but I would have liked to have seen on something like this more barrel characteristic, bourbon barrel kind of characteristic, even kind of a little bit of a bourbony boozy flavor to it, but I'm just not picking up on any of that out of this can. So that's what I'd like to see more of. But if you're just looking for a straight stout, this is a really good stout. I think it's got great flavors. I'm just missing what I should be getting out of the bourbon barrel aging, the oak kind of characteristic or any kind of bourbony bite. I'm not getting any of that, but what I am getting again is just a really nice, just straight stout kind of flavor. If you were going into this thinking that you were going to get bourbon barrel like I was, you might be a little bit disappointed. If you were just going into this thinking you're going to get a nice stout, I definitely think it's got a great stout flavor. It's just not getting much of that bourbon characteristic at all. All right, friends, that has been Bourbon Barrel Aged Steep from Mothfire Brewing Company in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Have you had any other Mothfire beers yet? Have you had Steep? What are some styles you'd like to see me talk a little bit more about? Let me know in the comments down below while you're down there. If you like beer, you might want to subscribe and click that bell because I'm here talking about beer, mostly Michigan beer, twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's all for free for viewers just like you. But you might miss your newest favorite if you're not subscribed and getting those notifications. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries. These guys are in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And most importantly, don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Cheers.